Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. I am here to help you on that journey. And today we're going to talk about how I'm really tired these days. I'm really tired, and I'm sure I'm not alone. And I kind of just wanted to put it out there to acknowledge that maybe a lot of us are feeling tired. But before we get into that chat, I just want to remind you that I would love to hear from you on Instagram or via email. If you'd like to send me a DM on Instagram, I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or you can send me an email. All of that information is in the show notes for the show today. And I would just love to get to know you. A few people recently have been reaching out, and I just love it and adore it. And so I'd love to make more of you, my close internet friends. So please do that. But let's jump into the episode. So again, I'm really tired these days. So I want to know how your life is feeling right now. My life right now is pretty tiring, but I'm sure I'm not the only person feeling this way. Generally, most of the things I talk about, there is someone else out there that is feeling the same. And so we can kind of commiserate together of those tough things that we're going through, those difficult seasons of life. And it's helpful. It's helpful to know that you're not alone, for sure. And I personally have had really big changes at work, which are good, but come with a ton of responsibility that wasn't expected. Like, it just wasn't. My whole situation at work is nothing anyone planned or thought would ever happen. I won't bore you with that story. Maybe I'll talk about it at some point later, or on my Instagram or something, but it's fine though. It's fine. At least I keep saying it's fine. I keep saying this to myself because it makes me less anxious in the moment I'm feeling overwhelmed. So if I have one of those moments during the day where I'm just feeling super overwhelmed, tired, just done, just really done, right? I tell myself it's going to be fine. It's fine. We're all fine. I also try to really think about what I can be grateful for, which I have a ton of things, never-ending list of things. And that really helps too. But it's super important to remember that, despite, it sounds negative, but despite all the things that we have to be grateful for, it's still okay to feel the way you're feeling. It really is. And I want you to know that, because a lot of times people will shove it in your face like, oh, well, you have to be grateful. And yeah, we do. We definitely have to be grateful. We have to realize that we are blessed beyond means in so many ways that we don't even acknowledge. However, you can still feel what you're feeling and still go through those emotions and still struggle with those things. That's okay. That's human. That's just what we're supposed to do. So I want you to know that. But, I think a lot of us may be feeling tired and drained by whatever is going on in our lives right now. It just feels like it is the common thread with a lot of people that I'm speaking to. And if you're not, if you're feeling great, if you are feeling so full of life and joy right now, and you're like, I don't relate, Sabrina, that's okay. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. I find you to be, an inspiration for me and probably for others. And that's great. But I do encourage you to still kind of understand what I'm talking about today in today's conversation about being tired, because maybe there's someone else, undoubtedly, there is someone else in your life that is feeling this way. And then by understanding what they're going through and getting an idea, you might be able to better help them and support them in their time of need, because the situation is bound to be reversed at some point in your life, and you'll know how they feel, but at least you know that you were able to help someone else when they were in their time of need. So that will definitely be reflected back on you. So anyway, so if you're feeling great and you're having the best time ever, like more power to you. Awesome. Really indulge in that. I really do press you to do that. But many of us are feeling tired and drained, and maybe it's your job like me, or a change in career. But it could also be something that's going on with your family. I'm also in this category. I'm not able to talk about it right now, but there's definitely stuff happening in my family. Or maybe it's a friendship. Maybe it's not a two-way street, or it's just become too emotional, too much right now, kind of volatile. Or even something with your significant other, There's definitely things that could happen there. Sometimes we are just not seeing eye to eye on different things and struggling to communicate. That's normal. But it doesn't really matter what it is specifically, but that it's causing these feelings, and it's not healthy to bathe in the sea of emotions for too long. For too long. It's important to acknowledge what we are going through, figure out what is causing us to feel anxious, overwhelmed, tired, irritated, disengaged, or whatever it is, because we want to know what is triggering us or causing us to get to this stage of feeling like it is all too much, like it all just might be too much. But you don't want to just like wallow. You know how I talk about how you might fall into a pit of despair, and you don't want to sit there and continually dig that hole deeper and just feel like you are bathing in these emotions. You're really just kind of like feeling like the victim. You're kind of feeling sorry for yourself. We've all been there at some point. It's not a healthy place to be, but so that's why I wanted to point that out. It's not healthy to do that on a long-term basis for like, in a long-term plan. But it is super important to acknowledge what we're going through. It's something I talk about all the time, because if we don't, we won't learn more about ourselves and what's going on. But also by taking the time to identify what is instigating these feelings, you can work on making any appropriate changes if possible. I say if possible, and I wanted to make such a big deal about this because you're not always going to be able to fix the situation or make any changes right now. You're just not. Sometimes the most you can do is shift your mindset to be more hopeful for the time being. And this is when it can be the hardest to deal with your struggles. Like super hard when you actually are able to just honestly tell yourself there's nothing that can be done right now. And on this show, I speak a lot on making the necessary changes that need to be done for your life to be better. But let's be honest, you can't always do that. You can't. Sometimes you're stuck, right? And I needed to make sure I mentioned this because I am not about giving false hope. You know that. I am about to be true and honest with you guys. And sometimes life can be not as forgiving and flexible as we want it to be, And I'm sure some of you out there are like, yeah, that really sucks. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. It really sucks. But yeah, sometimes we just have to be patient and wait it out, And I wanted to make sure that I kind of really, push this home, like really dove into this because like I mentioned, I love to give hope and encouragement and inspiration on what you can do and how your life can be better. And I'm still here doing that. It's just in a different way of just realizing the reality of being in a tough place in your life, in a season of life at sometimes, and just acknowledging and knowing sometimes you can't do anything or you can't do much. And there's so many people out there that mean well, that are like, oh yeah, just change this, that, and the other. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes your hands are tied. Sometimes you have to do the really sucky thing for a little bit, knowing that you will get your reward. You will get that opportunity to shift and change and move and grow and do something different. But right now you just have to suck it up. And again, I know that isn't like super mind-blowing encouragement, motivation, right? I'm sure no one would pay me thousands of dollars to stand on a stage and say that, but I think that they should, not just me, though, so many other people. It's important for us to be real with ourselves, acknowledge the hard parts, acknowledge the terrible parts, acknowledge the times where it's just not going to go the way we want and there's no way we can make it go the way we want. That's just not how life is. Life is just we'll have twists and turns and changes, and we have to adapt and flex to the situation in the moment. And no matter what you feel like you can do, sometimes you can't do enough. And other times you can do so much, but sometimes you can't do enough. And you just have to chill and continue to be hopeful and positive and know that among this tough, dark, rough time, difficult time, whatever you want to call it, however you want to label it, you will get through because you're telling yourself you will, and you believe in yourself, and you know this isn't forever. This is only a temporary season of life. You have to look at every part of your life as a temporary season of life, and that will really help put more life back into your heart and your mind and your soul, and to remind yourself that it's going to be okay, right? We continue to wallow in the darkness and all of the negative things that are happening and not truly acknowledge the positives that we've had in the past and that will come in the future. I just think your heart will be broken and your mind will not be able to handle the downturn that you might temporarily be in. And maybe your life is like tiring and overwhelming right now, but it's not bad. It's just like for me, I don't feel like my life is bad. I just feel like it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And I have not dealt with this before. So it's difficult for me to figure out how to deal with it in the moment, but I'm figuring it out. And so I'm not going to say that every season of life that you want to have change in is going to be terrible. It just might not necessarily be what you want. And that's still a growth opportunity. You know, I'm learning and growing in so many different ways right now in the season of life that I am desperately hoping I am able to get out of soon. But it's still good. It's still a good experience. And I want you to kind of think that way, because if you don't, then you'll hate it even more, right? And that's not going to help you get out of it anytime soon. So, for me, I have to also take each day one at a time, or I will lose it. I will just lose it. You know, being hopeful for the future and what's happened in the past is helpful, but still taking it day by day has been super, super good for me. I will just lose my mind, and that really doesn't help anyone, right? And I'm sure you guys could relate, you know, because when we are having rough days, weeks, months, whatever it may be, it can easily cast a shadow over everyone else in our lives if we don't reel in our feelings and watch how we are word vomiting on everyone else. And don't get me wrong, we are entitled to our feelings and expressing those. I talk about that all the time. You know, I feel like that should be like a flag that I fly, like, hey, let's remember to be vulnerable. But we need to be cognizant of how it could affect someone if we are doing it in the wrong setting. I've mentioned this before with other people in my real life. And it's a tough conversation to have because everyone feels like they're super overly entitled to do whatever they want. And that's just not true, right? That's just not true. I feel like things are like either an extreme end. There's no meat in the middle. And I feel like this is a situation where you kind of have to meet in the middle. And, you know, in my counseling sessions, I go to counseling every single week. If you're new here, I love it. And in my counseling sessions, my therapist talks a lot about how I am good at reading the room. And, you know, which I agree. I am very good at this. You know, it's something that I definitely am proud of, and I know that I do well, but I truly believe a lot of people aren't, unfortunately. I think you can definitely get better at this if you practice it and do it as much as possible. I feel like a lot of people that are people pleasers and perfectionists and just really want to be their best in front of other people's are really good at, people are really good at doing this as well, because you don't want to step on any toes and you want to make sure everything is good for everyone else, right? And, you know, some people just blurt out whatever is on their mind and in their heart, and this can be therapeutic for the person expressing themselves, but hurtful for others. And sometimes people don't think about this, or they do, and then they just don't care, which is, I would say, the wrong way to go about it, to be honest. But I need you to know that sometimes it's just not the right time to share your true feelings about something or someone. It's just not. You have to feel out the situation and who will be receiving what you're throwing out. Because, you know, just in all basic honesty, it's the courteous thing to do. And I needed to make sure that you understood that, because a lot of people, this is a touchy subject, because like I said, everyone feels like they're overly entitled to do whatever they want. But I want you to understand that you could be triggering someone else in a way. You could be making someone else uncomfortable. And there's a different level of like saying something that someone is taking as being uncomfortable because they feel their own shame and burden in that. But really saying something that is just not appropriate, it's going to trigger people. It's like trauma dumping, which is a topic that I'm going to talk about at some time in the near future. But you're just doing it too much, and it's not helpful. So I knew that I just wanted to mention that. I won't talk a lot about this because it's not really on super topic about speaking about feeling tired. However, I do feel like that when we are tired and things are just too much, we just want to blurt it all out. And I think there's a time and a place for that. And if you are able to have therapy, or you just have someone that is really close to you that you trust, speak with them and make sure that you ask them if it's a good time and talk to them about it. Don't just, be in a group of people and let that out unless it's like a super, super close-knit group and you feel like it would be appropriate and not something that is just there for you to draw attention to yourself because you want to, I hate to say it, but be the victim or have people feel bad for you because that fuels you and feeling like what you're going through, it makes it better when it doesn't. And that's not going to help in the long run. I want you to know that. So please, 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 please learn to read the room. So, and today's a little bit different. And I've been trying to feel things out lately with this show and try different things to make it better, or just switch it up. I would love your guys' feedback. So please just send me an email or send me a DM on Instagram. Look in the show notes for how to do that. And I'd love to hear if you've been enjoying the show lately or anything you'd suggest to do differently. But today I don't have a specific list of tips to give you to help you not be tired with your life. I don't. It's just sometimes we just have to be tired for a season. I totally believe that. And again, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, and I forgive me if your name is Debbie. I'm not trying to mean that negatively, just the phrase. But sometimes we just have to not suffer, but just endure what is happening. Sometimes we just have to be tired for a season. But I will share with you what I am doing that is helping, because I'm in a place where I can change things, but it's not super easy to do so. So there are changes in my life that I'm trying to make, but they take time and they take patience and precision. And it's really annoying that it takes that. And I can't just snap my fingers and make it happen. But that's just how it is. So but I have been doing things that have been helpful, and I do want to share those with you really quick. So for me, being in control of as much of my routine is super helpful. And I've talked about before how I am a super control freak. I struggle with control issues. I am working on them. They are getting better. But it is really helpful for me. And I understand that there's an irrational amount of control that we should have. And I'm trying to figure out what that is. But yeah, for me, being in control is super helpful. Working out every day is really great for me and setting myself up for the day. I love it. And so I have made it a really good habit for me to wake up before I go to work, which means walking from my bedroom to my office, which is right next door, since I work full time from home. But it's been super helpful for me to get up, and I'll have a routine of letting the dog out and then making my pre-workout. And I usually take a really cute picture because I usually feel really cute in my workout clothes and post that. And then I will go up to the garage and I will work out. And it is super helpful for me because, again, I'm in control of, getting myself to be healthy, feeling really strong and capable, and working on those goals that I have for my fitness goals. And so that has really helped me to reflect on something I really enjoy in my life, and also that just makes me feel good in general, makes my body feel good, and lets those endorphins loose. I also really have dove back into reading, and I read mostly fiction, usually dystopian novels or romance novels or psychological thrillers. Those are the things that I like. But yeah, dove back into reading, which is something I have loved most of my life. Even as a child, I was definitely that kid, even in elementary school, that would always want to go to the library. And I would sometimes check out the Maximum amount of books, which I think was like 5 or 10 or something like that. And I would just fill my backpack with books, and I would love to read them. I remember reading like short little fiction novels, Magic School Bus. As I got older, there was definitely a book series that I would follow by author Lois Duncan. And she's not really that well known, I don't think, but she had a long series of books, and I would continue to read those. I believe mostly when I started in middle school and high school. And I would always save up money to buy the newest book at Barnes & Noble because books weren't coming to the library as quickly as they are today. And I loved it. And so in high school, I was reading, college, now I love it. But I'd kind of taken like a little break, fallen away from that, watching more TV, dealing with other stuff in my life. And, I have a kiddo. But yeah, I started doing that again, and I just love it. So I have so many things to read, and that really comforts me and provides happiness for me. And video games are always a good distraction, so that's on the list as well. I have a Switch and I play Animal Crossing, and it's really fun, and a couple other games. And it's kind of like a mindless thing to do while I listen to music or watch a show, and it's fun though, because it takes me away from all the stressors that are happening in my life. So if you have an opportunity to do that, even just playing a video game on your phone or a tablet or your computer. My daughter loves to play computer games, so does my husband, and so that's what they do. I also have some games on my tablet that I like to play, like Bejeweled or Tetris. I'm kind of into those kind of games, so that's fun for me. Talking to you all is so helpful. That's definitely on the list. I feel like I am providing something helpful back to the world for sure. I hope you guys feel the same. And so this podcast is amazing. And the last thing I will mention, which could be seen as something super tiring to other people, to each their own, but the last thing is keeping my house clean. So they say that the disorganization around you is mirrored in your mind, and I believe this wholeheartedly. It's the idea of like, if your house is a mess, then that means your mind's a mess. And so if you're able to clean up around you and have that organization, you can feel that same way inside your mind, and that helps you not to feel so anxious, so overwhelmed. And so even today, before I recorded, I went and like tidied up this. It's technically like a spare bedroom, but we don't have a bed in there because no one really stays with us. We had someone that stayed with us for a couple times, and we would just put like a mattress in there. But it's technically a spare bedroom, and I use it kind of as like a laundry organization room because my laundry room isn't that big. So that's what I use it for. And we store other stuff in there. And so I was cleaning that up and tidying that up, and then just like, doing laundry and reorganizing some other things. And those kind of activities make me feel really good and make me, again, feel like I'm in control of something, and that these things in my life make me feel happy. And it's not something that has to do with all the other things that are making me tired. So I hope maybe some of those will spur some ideas for things for you to do that will help you not feel as tired or as like run down as you may, because you're engaging in things that kind of give you life and give you a spark. And but if you have any ideas that I didn't list, I would love for you to share them with me, again, on Instagram or via email. I'd love to hear it because I know you guys have probably even better ideas than I do. So I hope this chat has been helpful in really getting real about being tired and overwhelmed in life, and knowing it's really just a passing season that we all have to go through, honestly. So I just hope that you are able to keep your head up as much as possible and know that, again, it's temporary. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast, again, with me, Sabrina. Please check the show notes for all the notes, and also where to find me on Instagram at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or you're welcome to send me an email with any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, and hello to me. Send that email to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a really, really good one, and I can't wait to talk to you soon. Bye.